For half a century, the Contest Board of the American Automobile Association was the major sanctioning body for auto racing in this country. But in 1955, the board decided to disassociate itself from all kinds of racing in the United States. A week later, Tony Hulman formed a committee for the purpose of establishing a new sanctioning body. That new organization would be called the United States Auto Club.
The first race that USAC sanctioned was at the Memorial Coliseum in Fort Wayne, Indiana, January 8, 1956. It was a 100-lap midget race. Gene Hartley won it, driving for Ray Bolander. 16th Street Speedway was across the street from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The midgets were featured in 3 separate programs the night before the 500. Shorty Templeman won all 3 main events, driving for Ashley Wright. The 1956 Indianapolis 500 was tough on cars and drivers. Rathman, O'Connor, Russo, and Flaherty were early leaders. Bob Schweikert blew a tire and crashed on lap 131. He was able to drive to the pits for repairs. Pat Flaherty led 127 laps and averaged over 145 miles an hour. He won almost $94,000. It was the second win in a row for car owner John Zink. Milwaukee was the next race on the championship schedule. Flaherty was hot and planned to make it win number 2. Johnny Boyd led the first 22 laps. Flaherty took the lead on lap 58 and went on to win the 100-miler, averaging 98.846 miles an hour. Sprint cars raced at Salem, Indiana a week later. Bob Schweikert puts his car to the starting line. Elmer George led an anxious field of drivers into turn number 1. Schweikert is in 4th place. Elmer continues to lead. Schweikert had handling problems and slammed into the front stretch wall, sending him out of control and over the fence. The outstanding champion suffered fatal injuries. The USAC stock cars raced at Milwaukee 3 times in 1956. The Bill Strope Mercuries, driven by Jimmy Bryan, Sam Hanks, and Troy Ruttman, were hard to beat. Ruttman had no trouble passing cars, even if he had to do it in the dirt. Sam Hanks stayed out of trouble, led most of the race, and took home the winner's purse. Bobby Unser won the Pikes Peak Hill Climb in the championship division. The Hoosier 100 always draws a big crowd and pays a big purse. Jimmy Bryan took the lead on lap 72. Elmer George spun on lap 93. This was Bryan's 5th win of 1956. Jimmy was big and strong and could manhandle the powerful dirt champ cars. He finished 3rd at Sacramento and 2nd at Phoenix and won the national championship. Pat O'Connor won the Midwest Sprint Car Championship. Tommy Hinnerschitz was the Eastern Sprint Car Champion. Shorty Templeman won the Midwest and National Midget titles. Open wheel star Johnny Mance won the Stock Car Championship. Sterling Moss won the 250-mile USAC sports car race in the Bahamas. The Indianapolis 500 was the first championship race in 1957. George Sally entered a revolutionary car, very low and sleek. The engine was laid on its side instead of standing up vertically in a normal manner. This allowed Sally to build the car with the new sleek design. Oh, George Sally.
Yes?
You being the builder of this champion, how could you possibly make the engine run in a horizontal position, lying on its side?
What difference does it make? The engine doesn't realize whether it's standing up or laying down.
What's the advantage of it lying on its side?
On the track with the engine horizontal, you will notice the hood is much lower, affording vastly improved visibility. Also, the position of the engine lowers the center of gravity, distributing stress and strain to all 4 wheels in the turns.
Thank you, George. Sam Hanks led 136 laps in the Sally creation, averaging 140.784 miles an hour. Hanks poses with Sally after the 500 as Sam announced his retirement from racing. He competed in 14 Indianapolis 500s. Langhorne was the second race on the championship trail. Johnny Thompson won in the DA Lubricant Special. The next race was the traditional Milwaukee 100-miler. Jimmy Bryan led the first 20 laps with Roger Ward nipping at his heels. Ward took the lead on lap 21. Ward stands with car owner Bob Wilkie in victory circle. Monza, Italy was the venue for the Race of Two Worlds. A select group of American drivers flew to Monza to race against European drivers. Race cars and the Dean Van Lines pickup were shipped by boat. Jimmy Bryan won the first two heats. Troy Ruttman won the third. Bryan finished second in the third heat. Jimmy was the overall winner. The DuQuoin 1-mile dirt track was the 8th championship race in 1957. Roger Ward grabbed the lead, racing into turn number 1. On the 4th lap, Bryan hit the fence in turn 3 and flipped. Jimmy was okay and his car had very little damage. After looking at the car, Bryan decided to continue in the race. After a quick stop in the pits for new tires and a new cigar, he was back on the gas. Judd Larson won the race. Bryan crashed through the fence at Phoenix on the 96th lap while leading. After a quick 360, he drove back onto the track, regained the lead, and won the race and the championship. Bobby, Louie, and Jerry Unser were tough competitors. Jerry won the 1957 Stock Car Championship. Bill Randall won the Eastern Sprint Car title. Elmer George was the Midwest Sprint Car champion. Shorty Templeman won the National, Midwest, and Pacific Coast Midget crowns. Trenton was the first championship race in 1958. Lynn Sutton won the 100-miler, driving for Andy Dunlap. He led 75 laps and taking his first championship win. The Indianapolis 500 was the second championship race on the schedule. Jimmy Bryan took over the George Sally laydown and led the first 18 laps. Pat O'Connor was fatally injured on lap 1. Bryan led the last 24 laps and brought the laydown into victory circle for the second year in a row. Bryan was tired, dirty, but happy with his first Indianapolis 500 victory. Actress Shirley MacLaine was there to congratulate Jimmy and would have won an Oscar doing so. There was a second showdown at Monza. 10 American drivers and 10 European drivers were in the starting field. Luigi Musso led 3 laps in Heat 1. Jim Rathman won all 3 heats. Leonard Firestone congratulates Rathman in victory circle. Bobby Unser won the championship dirt car division at Pikes Peak, averaging 53.992 miles an hour for the 12.5-mile distance. Jim Rathman and Bob Veith bring the 26-car field down for the start of the Milwaukee 200-mile race. Rathman leads lap 1. In fact, Rathman led the first 13 laps. Don Freeland passes George Amick in turn 1. Amick regains the position in turn number 2. Gene Hartley and Dempsey Wilson get together. Roger Ward led laps 14 through 27. Ward lapped Sutton on lap 51 after regaining the lead from Rathman. Tony Bettenhausen passes Jimmy Davies and Bob Veith for second position. On the next lap, Veith repassed Bettenhausen. Roger Ward went on to win the race. Eddie Sachs won the Hoosier 100 in the Peter Schmidt Special. Tony Bettenhausen won the national championship. Sachs was the Midwest Sprint Car champion. Johnny Thompson won the Eastern Championship. Shorty Templeman became a 3-time national midget titleist. And Dan Gurney won the Road Racing Championship. Fred Lorenzen grabbed the stock car crown. The 1959 National Championship started at Daytona International Speedway. The 2.5-mile high bank track was fast. George Amy qualified for the pole in a new laydown, averaging almost 177 miles an hour. There were 2 races, the first for 100 miles and the second for 50 miles. Amick was running 4th in the first race when he crashed in turn 2 on the 39th lap, suffering fatal injuries. Jim Rathman won both races. Jerry Enzer and Bob Kortner died from injuries during practice runs at Indy. Johnny Thompson sat on the pole in the new laydown alongside Eddie Sachs and Jim Rathman. Thompson was favored to win. Ward took the lead from Thompson on lap number 5, leading for 8 circuits. On lap 13, Jim Rathman took the lead. Ward and Rathman swapped the lead several times. Pat Flaherty led 11 laps, but Ward dominated and won, averaging 144 miles an hour. Jim Hurtubise has shown passing Tony Bettenhausen the changing of the guard was evident heading into the 60s. Hurtubise won his first championship race at Sacramento. A.J. Foyt was getting stronger every race. Parnelli Jones would join the new guard in 1960. Roger Ward was the '59 national champion. Don Branson was crowned Midwest Sprint Car King. Tommy Hintershitz won the East Coast Sprint Car Championship. Gene Hartley wore the National and Midwest Midget crowns. Fred Lorenzen captured the Stock Car title again. Augie Paps was the road racing champ. Jim Rathman leads Roger Ward at Indy, renewing the duel they had in 1959. Rathman took the lead from Ward on lap 25. Ward repassed Rathman on lap 38. After swapping the lead several times, Rathman made the final pass on lap 196 and won the race. Rathman drinks his milk and picks up $110,000. Because he never liked the racetrack, Ward decided to sit out at Langhorne.
Langhorne was a racetrack that I considered to be extremely dangerous. And more importantly, it was a circle. It was not the kind of a racetrack that you might normally like to drive. And frankly, I just never really felt very comfortable there.
The aerial pictures show Langhorne was a circular 1-mile dirt track. Jimmy Bryan took over Ward's car for the Langhorne race. He started next to Don Branson in the front row. Sadly, Bryan was fatally injured on the first lap. Jim Hurtubise won the 100-mile race. Jim Packard poses with his wife Betty after winning at Springfield. Lynn Sutton won the Milwaukee 200. A.J. Foyt picked up his first championship win at DuQuoin. Bobby Grimm won the Syracuse 100-mile race. Foyt won again on the Hoosier Mile, his second championship win in 2 weeks. Eddie Sachs won the first race at Trenton in 1959 and also won the second Trenton race. He was a tough competitor. The Arizona State Fairgrounds was the last stop on the 1960 championship schedule. Foyt leads the championship by 120 points. Jim Hurtubise and Don Branson will be tough to beat. Starter Jimmy Jackson counts the cars to make sure the 18-car field is set. Bob Kleberg and Cotton Farmer will dictate the race for the start of the 100 miles. They head for the green flag and everyone charges into turn number 1. Foyt dives under Hurtubise on lap 25 and takes the lead. Cotton Farmer loses it in turn 4 and slams into the guardrail, sending him into a vicious series of flips across the rail. It looked bad for Farmer. Unbelievably, Cotton scrambles from his car and waves that he's okay. The crowd watches as Foyt heads to the checkered flag with Hurtubise on his heels. His pit crewman flashes him a sign that says it all. Car owner Bob Bose congratulates a tired, dirty, and very happy Foyt for winning the championship and the race. He was also crowned Eastern Sprint Champion. Lucy Foyt gives AJ a winning kiss. Parnelli Jones took the Midwest Sprint Championship. Jimmy Davies captured the National Midget title. Norm Nelson was the 1960 Stock Car Champion. And Carroll Shelby won the Road Racing title. 1961 was the 50th year anniversary of the Indianapolis race. Popular Tony Bettenhausen was fatally injured while testing a car for his good friend Paul Russo. George Bignotti tries A.J. Foyt's car on for size. Eddie Sachs grabbed the pole for the 1961 race. Foyt had a tough battle with Eddie Sachs. Foyt led 71 laps and Sachs led 44. AJ averaged a little over 139 miles an hour. Sprint car drivers are a breed apart, aggressive and fearless. The races are competitive and spectacular. Accidents were more commonplace in the 60s. Driver safety was minimal. Roll cages were unheard of. Paved tracks were no less dangerous. The smallest mistake can be lethal. Bobby Marshman got a little bit out of the groove at Trenton and took a nasty tumble. Luckily, he was okay. Bobby Unser, a young lion new to USAC sprints. There were 24 sprint car events. In 1961, they raced from coast to coast. Jim Hurtubise and Wayne Weiler tangled at Terre Haute. Seriously injured, Weiler's USAC career was over. Parnelli Jones won the National Sprint Car Championship. A.J. Foyt picked up his second national championship. Paul Goldsmith topped dog in the stock cars in '61. Jimmy Davies became a two-time national midget champion. Ken Miles wrapped up the road racing championship in '61. Parnelli Jones was on the pole for the '62 Indianapolis 500 and set a blistering pace. Parnelli led the first 59 laps. Jones was having brake problems and was forced into the pits. His crew grabbed onto the car and dragged him to a stop. The car was a handful the rest of the race. Roger Ward was the winner. Parnelli gets ready for the start of the Milwaukee race. Foyt is on the pole and will be tough to beat in the 100-miler. The crowd watches as Pat Vadan waves the green flag. The race is on. Foyt muscles past Don Branson and takes the lead. On lap 37, Don Davis takes the lead from Foyt, driving a Chevy-powered car. Davis led 39 laps with Foyt on his tail. On lap 40, racing hard into turn 2, the right rear tire explodes, sending him into a spin. Davis kept it off the wall and was able to get back into competition. Jim Hurtubise tried to pass Foyt for the lead on the last lap. He slid high and Parnelli Jones passed him for second position. Parnelli has Foyt in view, but it's too far back to be a threat. AJ heads for the checkered flag. Jim McElreath takes us for a ride on the fast Langhorne Mile. The surface is oil on dirt. Foyt is on his way to winning his third race in 1962. Hurtubise is second, Jones third. Foyt takes the checkered and wins again. Parnelli passes Herc on the last lap for second. Foyt led every lap. Parnelli was glad to finish runner-up. A street sweeper gets the Syracuse track ready to race. The Syracuse Mile is a cinder track, always dusty and rough on tires. Jones led the first 72 laps. A blown tire on lap 73 took him out. Bobby Marshman lost a tire also. Roger Ward inherited the lead and went on to win the 100-mile race. Foyt finished in second position. Ward has 4 championship wins in 1962. Hurtubise gets off to a rough start at the Hoosier Fairgrounds. Elmer George has Chevy power. Bobby Grimm hems it up. AJ is in a good mood. Kerry Agajanian and Parnelli Jones. Jones and Hurtubise are in the front row for the start of the Hoosier 100. Herc grabs the lead. Parnelli challenges from the high groove. Herc hangs on through turn 1. Parnelli rides the cushion and pulls past Herc in turn 2. Parnelli led 93 laps. Hurtubise fell back to 8th. Jones lapped all but 2 cars, his first championship win in '62. Jones and Troy Ruttman pace the field for the start of the 100-mile race at Phoenix. Parnelli leads, but Bobby Marshman challenges for the lead on lap 30 and pulls alongside. He takes the lead on lap number 31. Foyt is running third. Elmer George was fighting an ill-handling car. On lap 47, he crashed through the fence and flipped into the crowd. George was okay. Several fans were injured. The race was stopped on lap 51. Marshman the winner. Roger won the championship. Parnelli Jones won the National Sprint Car Championship again. Jimmy Davies made it 2 in a row in the midgets. Roger Penske won the Road Racing Championship. Paul Goldsmith also picked up his second Stock Car Championship in '62. The 1963 Indianapolis 500 festivities started with Eddie Sachs being the first driver on the track in May. Parnelli Jones qualified for the pole again and is anxious to win. Bobby Unser qualified one of the novices for the race. He'll start 16th on race day. Junior Johnson tried the Indianapolis cars and didn't like them. Troy Ruttman won in 1952 and could win again. Curtis Turner wrecked in practice. Jimmy Clark was part of the 2-car Lotus team. Dan Gurney was the other driver on the team. The 33-car field heads for the green flag and charge into turn number 1. Jim Hurtubise leads the first lap. Jones hot on his tail. Trouble in the middle of the field. Bobby Unser loses control and spins into the wall. He was out of competition. Parnelli takes the lead in turn 2. Bud Tingelstadt spins into the wall in turn 2 on lap 46. He's through for the day. Parnelli still leads on lap 63. Jim Clark took the lead on lap 68 and led 28 circuits. Eddie Sachs lost a wheel and crashed on lap 181. Jones is back in the lead. Jim Clark is second. Sachs rolls his tire back to the pits and waves to the fans. Roger McCluskey moves in on Jones on lap 198 and loses control in turn 3 while trying to pass. McCluskey finished 15th. Parnelli wins the race. Jim Clark is second. Jones finally made it into victory circle. Car owner J.C. Agajanian happy to win again. Jim Clark leads a 200-mile race at Milwaukee. Teammate Dan Gurney is second. A.J. Foyt is all over Gurney in third, looking for the slightest mistake to take over the second spot. Clark has led every lap. Foyt is relentless and makes his move in turn 2. A.J. finally gets by Gurney with a little help from lap cars in turn 3. Clark is on the last lap. Foyt is second. It's the first time a foreign driver has won a championship race since the 30s. Ward, Foyt, and Clark pose with race promoter Sam Nunes. Jimmy Clark is on the pole in his Lotus-powered Ford. Teammate Dan Gurney starts alongside and heads for the start of the Trenton 200. The race is on. Clark shoots into the lead. Gurney is second. Foyt and Jones are close behind. The field tightly packed, racing into turn 1. Clark has his hands full trying to hold off Gurney. Chuck Hulse tries to pass Roger McCluskey. They come together and slam into the fence and then slide to a stop. Clark is out on lap 49. Gurney drops out while leading on lap 147. Foyt won the race and lapped the field. Jim McElreath takes us for a ride at DuQuoin. Foyt won 5 championship races and the national championship. Don White was the stock car champion in '63. Bob Winty won the national midget championship. Roger McCluskey won 7 sprint races and the championship in '63. He suffered serious injuries at Reading, Pennsylvania in the second race of the '67 season. Jim Hurtubise flew to the races in his CB Amphibian. Jim Clark led the first lap of the 1964 Indianapolis 500. Little did he know that there was an inferno behind him. Dave McDonald lost control in turn 4 and hit the inside wall and exploded in flames. Eddie Sachs was unable to miss McDonald and was caught in the flames, both fatally injured. Jones led for 7 laps. Voigt took the lead on lap 55 and led the rest of the race, collecting $153,650 in the process. Voigt gets ready for a 100-miler at Langhorne. Johnny Rutherford is on the pole, Voigt alongside as they head for the green flag. AJ pulls ahead of Rutherford going into turn 1. Voigt was never challenged. He led every lap. This was his 5th championship win in a row. AJ kept his winning streak alive, making it win number 6 at Trenton. He took the lead on lap 127 and never looked back. Race promoter Sam Nunes congratulates Voigt. The Springfield 100-mile race was the 7th event of the '64 championship season. Bobby Marshman led the field into turn 1. Marshman is overdue to win another championship race. He's led on dirt and pavement. Voigt is in 16th position. Bobby is forced to make a pit stop for a right rear tire on lap 49. Voigt took the lead on lap number 66 with Marshman on his tail. Voigt heads for the checkered flag and wins his 7th race in a row. Al Unser tries to qualify his rear engine car for the Hoosier 100. Everything was fine until turn 2. He thrilled himself and the fans, taking a quick 360. Voigt won 10 races and the championship. Al Unser won Pikes Peak in Vince Conzi's sprint car. The USAC stock cars were crowd-pleasing. There were 16 races in 1964. Always lots of spectacular action. Parnelli Jones won 5 races in a row by mid-season in a Mercury. Eddie Meyer takes a tumble at DuQuoin. A.J. Voigt drove a Dodge. Sal Tovella slams the fence at Springfield and takes a bone-jarring crash, but he was okay. Parnelli has his hands full during the 150-miler at Milwaukee. Voigt is on Jones' bumper. Parnelli won 8 stock car races and the championship. Johnny Rutherford and Mario Andretti were great racing buddies. Don Branson was a master in the sprint cars. He won 5 races in 1964 in the National Sprint Car Championship. Branson was well-liked and a tough competitor. Mel Kenyon was the national midget champion. The balloons are released and it's time for the start of the 1965 Indianapolis 500. Jim Clark leads and will be tough to beat. Clark has led 188 laps. Parnelli Jones is second. Jones is running low on fuel. Colin Chapman tries to stay calm, hoping his driver Clark will bring his Lotus into victory lane. Clark wins and Jones finishes second. J.C. Agajanian was happy and relieved. Parnelli coasts to a stop out of fuel. Clark brings his car into victory circle. He was the first foreign driver to win the Indianapolis race since Dario Resta in 1916. Mario Andretti is on the pole for the start of the 150-mile road race at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Mario leads and AJ is close by in second. Voigt took the lead on lap 12. Ralph Ligori can't remember if it's a right or a left turn. At least he's headed in the right direction. Norm Hall was 4 laps down, driving a car not suited to a road course. He crashed on lap 30, suffering serious injuries. Mario now leads Voigt on lap number 65. The finish line is in sight. Andretti wins his first national championship event. His only win in 1965, but he will still win the national championship. Johnny Rutherford won 7 sprint car races and the national sprint title. Norm Nelson picked up his 2nd stock car title in 1965. Mike McGreevy grabbed the national midget championship. The start of the 1966 Indianapolis 500 looked more like a destruction derby. 21 cars were involved in the melee that included Foyt, Gurney, and Branson. No less than 7 tires and wheels were flying down the front stretch, with the cars playing bumper tag. Luck was on the driver's side. There were no serious injuries. Pat Vedin restarts the race. 11 cars unable to restart. Mario Andretti leads Clark, Snyder, and Jones. Chuck Hulse is in 7th place. Andretti drops out on lap 27. Jackie Stewart led for 40 laps but dropped out on lap 191. Graham Hill inherited the lead and won the race. Jim Clark was 2nd. Hill takes the bottle of milk reserved for the Indianapolis winner and downs a big gulp, not sure if it was going to stay down. The last championship in the 1966 season was the 150-mile race at Phoenix. Parnelli Jones takes the lead on lap 86. Jones had dropped to the tail of the field when he had to make an unexpected pit stop. He was the man on a mission, and winning was his goal. Andretti was glued to Jones in 2nd. Parnelli's car was losing oil pressure, and Mario picked him off on lap 133. Andretti is relieved that he's back in the lead. Jones' engine blows and dumps oil into the rear wheels. At this point, Parnelli is just a passenger taking a wild ride. Another angle shows Jones in the breathtaking crash. Fortunate that he didn't go over the wall, and even luckier he wasn't injured. Andretti is on the last lap and wins the Phoenix 150. This was his 8th win in 1966 and his 2nd national championship. Mario has a drink of champagne. That's pretty good stuff. The 1966 sprint car season was full of heart-stopping action. Judd Larson won his 2nd sprint race of the season at Winchester in June. Sadly, he and Red Regal were fatally injured at Reading the following week. Bobby Unser won at Reading. But the hard charger was Roger McCluskey. He preferred the cushion and drove around his competition. Roger won 9 sprint races in '66 and the National Sprint Car Championship. His favorite win was at Terre Haute. After taking the checkered flag, he was presented with twin Winchester rifles. Tragically, Dick Atkins and Don Branson died from injuries during a sprint car race at Ascot in November. Norm Nelson was a repeat champion in the stock car series. Mike McGreevy added another national midget championship to his career. Pikes Peak, better known as Unser Mountain, was again won by Bobby Unser. He won the championship division driving in his own car. This was his 8th win with a record time of 12 minutes, 23 seconds. The 1967 Indianapolis 500-mile race was the 3rd event in the '67 season.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
Andretti gets a jump on the field at the start. Parnelli Jones took over the lead on lap 1 and was pulling away from the competition. Joe Leonard in the 2nd Sheridan Thompson Special is in 7th position. Parnelli has led 51 laps in the turbine-powered car. Jones makes a scheduled pit stop. He pulls out of his pit with the fuel hose still connected to his car. Fortunately, no damage to the Whooshmobile. The laps click off on lap 189. Chuck Hulse has contact with Carl Williams. Bob Veith had nowhere to go and slams into Williams. Veith is out of competition. Parnelli has led 171 laps, but on lap 196, a bearing freezes up in the transmission and forces Jones into the pits and out of the race. A.J. Foyt takes over the lead. More drama is around the bend. Bobby Grimm loses a half shaft and collects Chuck Hulse and Carl Williams. Hulse slams the outside wall and then slides across the track. The track is almost blocked, but somehow Foyt manages to avoid the melee. He heads for the checkered flag, winning his third Indianapolis 500-mile race. It was also his fifth championship. Foyt shares victory circle with his father Tony and wife Lucy. Parnelli was asked if he was pacing himself and saving his car at the end of the race.
Yeah, because it was only 3 laps from the end of the race, and I had a lap lead. I mean, Foyt was right in front of me, and I could have passed him anytime I wanted to, and I just felt that I'd just sit there and watch him and save the car, and that way I could pace myself, and they just quit.
Foyt and Jones continued their battle in the USAC stock car division and traded paint on more than one occasion. Don White won 9 races and the stock car championship. Jones won 3 races and finished second in points. There were 29 sprint car races in 1967 and plenty of heart-stopping thrills, including Wib Spalding's tumble at Terre Haute. Craig Well was the man to beat with 8 victories. Bobby Unser won at Terre Haute and Altamont. Well was crowned sprint champion. Riverside was the last stop on the 1968 championship, and the title would be decided there. Unser and Andretti were in a tight race. Dan Gurney grabbed the lead from his pole position. Mario is second. Unser is in 11th position after a near crash in the S's. Gurney has led all but 4 laps. Unser is second. Foyt spins in turn 6. Andretti lost an engine on lap 59 and jumped into Joe Leonard's turbine for 1 lap, then crashed in turn 9, finishing the race in Lloyd Ruby's car. Dan Gurney won the Riverside 300. Bobby Unser finished second and won the 68 National Championship. Gurney had 3 wins in 68, 2 in a row at Riverside. The grandstands were always full of the sprint car races. Larry Dixon and Gary Bettenhausen were having a shootout every race. Dixon won 11 races and Bettenhausen 7. Larry won the championship. Mal Kenyon won the midget title again. Foyt won 4 stock car races and the stock car title. Andretti led the first 5 laps of the 1969 Indianapolis 500. Foyt passed him on lap 6 and led through lap 51. Mario led the race 3 times, leading a total of 116 circuits. His average speed was 156.8 miles an hour. Andy Granatelli gets a hug and congratulations from Tony Hulman. Andy grabs Mario and gives him a kiss. Mario won 9 races in the championship. Andy picks his 3 best drivers.
The 3 best Indy drivers of all time in my era were Foyt, Parnelli, Jones, and Andretti. Okay, they were the 3 best drivers of all times for that era of cars. There have been other great drivers before and after that, but for that particular era.
The Houston Astrodome hosted a 2-day midget spectacular. Foyt was one of 5 Indianapolis winners to race. Bob McLean is on the pole. Gary Bettenhausen alongside for the first feature. 24 cars roar into the first turn. Bettenhausen led from the start. Gary heads for the finish line. Foyt was second, Vukovic third, and Andretti finished 7th. Bettenhausen gets a standing ovation. Time for a little bubbly. Gary also won the 69 sprint title. Bob Tattersall was the national midget champion. McCluskey won 5 stock car races and the 69 stock car championship. Al Unser gets a kiss after his first Indianapolis win. The first California 500 was in 1970. Governor Ronald Reagan was on hand for the inaugural race. Jim McElreath won the event, driving for A.J. Foyt. Mario Andretti sat on the pole for the 100-miler at Sacramento. This is the last race that the mile dirt tracks will be part of the national championship. Racing started at Sacramento in 1949 with Freddie Agabation the winner. Johnny Rutherford lost an engine on lap 79 and crashed in turn 3, and Andretti lost control as well. Al Unser led 95 laps after passing Andretti on lap 4. George Snyder finished in second. Unser won 10 races, including 5 on dirt. He tied A.J. Foyt's 10 wins in 64. The Blue Angels flyby in formation as part of the race celebration. Bettenhausen and Dixon continued the Larry and Gary show. Dixon won 10 races in 1970 and the sprint title. Roger McCluskey won 4 races in his Plymouth Superbird and the Stock Car Championship. Doug and Jimmy Carruthers had 35 top 5 finishes in the Midget Series and won the National Midget Championship. The 1971 Indianapolis race was won by Al Unser driving the Johnny Lightning Special owned by Parnelli Jones and Bell Militich, similar to the car he won the 1970 race with. Unser teammate Joe Leonard won the Ontario 500 and the National Championship driving the Samsonite Special. Larry Dixon and Gary Bettenhausen were fierce competitors and both had their version during the post-race discussion. Gary won the Sprint Championship in 71.
I feel very fortunate to have had the 4 years racing for Willie Davis against Larry Dixon like I did, and it was a great period in my life.
Jimmy and Danny Carruthers both won the Midget Championship, Jimmy in 70, Danny in 71. George Snyder was crowned champion of the new Dirt Championship Series. Butch Hartman won the Stock Car Championship driving a 1969 Dodge. Bettenhausen took the lead on lap 31 at Indianapolis driving for Roger Penske. Gary led 138 laps. On lap 182, his car stopped on the backstretch. Bettenhausen's teammate Mark Donohue led the last 13 laps and won the 72 Indy 500. A very disappointed Bettenhausen is on the hook. Gary finished 14th. Roger Penske takes a victory lap with Mark Donohue. Joe Leonard won the national championship for the second time in 71. Leonard's teammates, Al Unser and Mario Andretti, display their special driving talents. Foyt won the Daytona 500 and the Dirt Championship. Sam Sessions was the top man in the sprint division and loved going to Victory Circle. He's not a midget, but Pancho Carter did win the 72 Midget Championship. After winning the Indy 500, Gordon Johncock sets a pace for the 73 150 at Phoenix, the last race of the 73 season. Lloyd Ruby spun on the front stretch. Johncock led 71 laps and won the last race of the season. Gordon was first at Indianapolis, Trenton, and Phoenix, plus winning his first national championship. Al Unser was a 1973 Dirt champion. 35 sprint races were run in the 73 season. 17 different drivers visited Victory Circle. Tony Simon spins. Sam Sessions, unable to miss him, takes a hard tumble, slowly landing on his wheels. Raleigh Beal, Larry Rice, and Butch Hartman own the 73 Sprint, Midget, and Stock Car Championships. Jan Opperman takes off his rookie stripes after passing his rookie test, and Parnelli is proud of his driver. The 74 crop of Indy rookies included Sneva, Carter, Simpson, Opperman, Bigelow, Cannon, and Parsons. Everyone is anxious for the start of the big race. The 33-car field is in perfect alignment as they head for the green flag. Foyt took the lead on lap 3. Betty Rutherford watches Johnny race into turn 1. Pancho Carter has to take evasive action when Rutherford passed him. Jim McElreath barely squeezed by. Pancho was able to restart and finish 7th. Rutherford on Foyt's tail, looking for a chance to take the lead. Foyt's crew watches AJ drop out of the race on lap 142. Rutherford led the last 23 circuits and wins his first Indianapolis 500. The fans wave wildly as JR flies by. Victory Circle was full of joy. Bobby Unser won the 1974 National Championship. Andretti leads the DuQuoin 100-mile race. Steve Lachaw slams the fence and endos out of the racetrack. He was uninjured. Mario won the race and the Dirt Championship. He went on to race in Formula One and credits his experience on the dirt for much of his success.
A lot of people thought, all American drivers, they don't know how to drive in the wet. Well, that's one thing I wanted to dispel, just not only for my own satisfaction, but, I wanted to have some of these experts swallow some of their own words. And I felt that some of that car control that you obviously have to possess to be able to drive a dirt car and work with changing conditions applies to wet conditions. Wet conditions are forever changing, and so are dirt track conditions.
Pancho Carter won the Sprint Car Championship. Billy Vukovich Jr. watches his dad during a midget race. Mel Kenyon picks up his third midget title. Butch Hartman won the Stock Car Championship for the fourth time. On the 125th lap of the 1975 Indianapolis 500, Tom Sneva collided with Eldon Rasmussen in turn 2 and took one of the most horrendous crashes ever seen at the Speedway. Unbelievably, Sneva was uninjured. Bobby Unser was in the lead near the end of the race. The event was stopped on lap 174 because of a downpour of rain. The race was officially over. A drenched Unser and car owner Dan Gurney celebrate. Foyt won the national championship for the sixth time in 1975. Pancho Carter rides the cushion at Terre Haute. Larry Dixon won the sprint championship for the third time. Sleepy Tripp grabbed the midget championship. Ramo Stott finally broke Hartman's lock on the stock car title. Brian Redmond won the new Formula 5000 championship. Jim Garner, a popular TV celebrity, attended the 76 Indy race, which was again shortened by rain on lap 102. Rutherford won his second Indy 500. Johncock, however, won the national championship. Billy Casella won the dirt title for Louis Seymour. There were 39 sprint races in 1976 and plenty of heart-stopping thrills, including Jack Hewitt's grinding crash at the Hoosier Fairgrounds. Jack had his bell rung, otherwise was uninjured. Sprint racing is fast and furious, and contact is unavoidable. Pancho Carter won 4 sprint races in a row and a total of 14 wins in 76. He also won his second sprint car championship driving for Steve Stapp. Stapp raced the USAC sprint circuit in the 60s. He built his own cars and was always competitive. He set a qualifying record at Terre Haute. Steve retired from driving and continued building race cars with great success. Gary Bettenhausen pitches a home run to Sleepy Tripp during a summer baseball game. Sleepy also hit a home run, winning his second midget championship. Butch Hartman won the stock car title for a 5th time. Brian Redmond, a repeat Formula 5000 champion in 76. Evel Knievel sponsored the Agajanian Indianapolis car in 1977, driven by Bettenhausen. Janet Guthrie became the first woman to qualify for the Indy 500. She finished 29th. Foyt won his 4th Indianapolis race. Larry Rice won the dirt championship. Mel Kenyon, midget champion again. James McElreath won 2 of the 45 sprint car races in 77. There were 14 different winners. James won the Holman Classic. Sheldon Kinzer won the championship. Tragically, James was fatally injured at Winchester. Paul Feldner took home the stock car championship. Herm Johnson won the first Mini Indy title. 3-time Indianapolis winner Louis Meyer takes a parade lap in his 1928 winning race car. Aggie waves to the crowd in turn 1. Danny Ungaius led the first 11 laps of the 78 Indianapolis race. Tom Sneva and Steve Krisiloff also led. Al Unser led the most laps, and he won the race. This was Unser's third Indianapolis win. Tom Sneva won the championship. Pancho Carter was the 78 dirt champion. The Sprint Car Series had 36 races, fewer than 1977, but still a very demanding season. Sheldon Kinzer was the 77 champ, but took a wild spill at Terre Haute. He was okay. Sprint cars on the high banks at Winchester is breathtaking, and the crashes are heart-stopping. Dana Carter and Billy Casella are locked in a series of spectacular flips. Tim Richmond hit the wall trying to miss the front stretch spill. No one was injured in the crash. Tom Bigelow won the Sprint Car Championship. Rich Vogler was the midget champion and enjoys a snack with Sheldon Kinzer. Foyt won the stock car title. Bill Alsop was crowned champion of the Mini Indy Series. Mario Andretti started racing Formula One in 1968. In '78, he won 6 F1 races and was a strong contender for the World Championship.
He is driving beautifully, his equipment's working right, he's feeling good, and I think we're looking forward to a good season.
Mario won the Long Beach Grand Prix in '77. Colin Chapman tosses his hat as Mario takes the checkered flag. Andretti went on to win the '78 Formula One World Championship driving for Chapman. He won a total of 12 Formula One races and continued to run with USAC, participating in 8 races in '78, including a win at Trenton. Rick Mears led the last 18 laps of the '79 Indianapolis 500, driving for Roger Penske. He averaged 158.899 miles an hour and won $270,000. It was Penske's second win. Foyt won the stock car and national championship and reflects on his career.
I guess I'd have to look back at really in my time. Roger Ward was very tough, before he quit on the dirt, very tough. But I have to go back to Pernelli Jones, Jim Hurtubise, the three of us. I mean, it's a wonder that the way we raced so hard, midgets and sprints, it was lucky that one of us didn't lose our lives in a race car because we let it all hang out. So I'd have to actually pick them 2 guys over everybody else.
Bobby Olivero won the dirt championship in '79. The 32-race schedule for the sprint cars that year kept cameramen busy filming all the action, including Rich Vogler's spill at the Hoosier Mile. And Duke Cook's barrel roll at New Bremen, Ohio. Greg Leffler was mighty happy with his sprint car championship. A new champion surfaced when Steve Lotshaw won the midget title in 1979. Brock Yates interviews Dennis Firestone after winning the Mini Indy Championship.
Legendary champions rose to greatness during the first 25 years of USAC. Drivers like Bryan, Ward, Foyt, Jones, the Unsers, and Andretti, to name a few. In the 25th year of USAC, Johnny Rutherford won the national championship. Gary Bettenhausen was the dirt track champion, and Rich Vogler won both the sprint and the midget titles.
Rutherford became a 3-time Indy 500 winner in 1980, driving for Jim Hall. John remembers the 60s and the great drivers back then.
I look back on that and I'm very, very proud of the fact that I came along in racing when those guys were still in it. Because Roger Ward was a great teacher of mine, so to speak. It was a great era.
The first most impressive driver in the second 25 years of USAC was Rich Vogler. Midgets were his favorite, and he loved to race the 1-mile ovals. Vogler puts pressure on Billy Vukovich III at the 1988 midget race on the Phoenix Mile. Rich won the race and the midget championship, making him a 5-time midget champion. He also won 2 sprint car titles. Vogler only raced to win.
I'm out there to win every race I run, every race I start, whether it's a heat race, semi-feature, feature event, even qualifications is a race, and I go out there to win every race that I enter.
Vogler's last championship was in the sprint cars in 1989. Sleepy Tripp was another hard charger that loved the midgets. On the West Coast, his main rival was P.J. Jones. They swapped paint on a regular basis. Here, P.J. makes a bonsai power slide.
PJ was getting ready to do his desperados again, and I thought I'd better give it a shot because he'd be tough to catch from out in front.
Sleepy used intimidation on anyone trying to take his real estate. He was strong, aggressive, and fearless. On dirt short tracks, Tripp was at his best. Sometimes he got a little greedy and tested his roll cage. He won the National Midget title 2 times and the Western Midget Championship 7 times. Allenser won his 4th Indy 500 in '87 and is proud of his wins.
In my day and age, I mean, Indianapolis was the greatest spectacle in racing, as it still is today. Some drivers might not think it is as big as it is, but without Indianapolis, we still wouldn't have anything.
Trey House and Jack Hewitt set the pace for the start at I-96 Speedway. Neither one is willing to run second. Hewitt, better known for his dirt racing skills, won the USAC Silver Crown Championship in 1986 and '87. He was seriously injured at Eldora in 1993. This is his first win since his recovery. Hewitt raced in all 4 divisions of the 4 Crown Nationals at Eldora. Jack was a crowd favorite. If he wasn't rim riding and winning, he was doing something spectacular. The first 100-mile championship race at the Springfield, Illinois Mile was in 1934. Billy Wynn won it. USAC has raced dirt cars on the Tricky Mile since 1956. Jack Hewitt took the lead on lap 35 during the 1993 Silver Crown event. Hewitt won that race. During his career, he won 23 Silver Crown races, 46 sprint car races, and 7 midget events. The last race at Ascot Park was the traditional Thanksgiving Day midget race in 1990. Stan Fox gives P.J. Jones a slide job. It's a drag race into the first turn. Robbie Flock is running a close third. Fox leads. Robbie has the edge on Jones. P.J. retakes second place. Stan is on the last lap and heads for the checkers. P.J. is second and Brent Kading third. It was an exciting last race at Ascot. Fox and Jones celebrate in Victory Circle as the fireworks spell out Ascot 1957 to 1990.
This is the one. This is the last one. It pays the best. We got a new track record qualifying, and Steve just pulled out all the stops. He gave me a brand new car, and we've been working on this program all year long.
Racing in the 90s was rough and tumble. Jack Hewitt puts a slide job gone wrong on Leland McSpadden at Eldora. Both cars flip wildly. McSpadden explains it was just a racing accident.
Well, you know, it can always get worse. You could have been hurt. You know, racing's racing, and today's over, and now we go to tomorrow.
In 1992, the Eldora fans witnessed an unbelievable 4-car spill involving Brent Kading, Gary Cameron, Ray Morgan, and Roger McLean on the front stretch. Eric Gordon races side by side with Rich Vogler. They touch going into turn 1. Jeff Gordon tries the inside in third. Eric leads. Jeff has moved into second and dives under Eric in turn 3. It's a 2-Gordon battle. Finally, Jeff pulls off the pass and wins the race. He won the 1990 National Midget Championship and won races in 3 USAC divisions. Jeff won 2 Silver Crown races in 1991, the Copper Classic and the Holman 100. He also won the 1991 Silver Crown Championship. Jeff went on, of course, to be a star in NASCAR. USAC started its Super Modified Series in 1985. Chuck Gurney, Davey Hamilton, Billy Vukovich III, and Ken Nichols all won championships. The cars were fast and spectacular. By 1992, the modifieds were a special event at Phoenix International Raceway. Rebel Jackson won the race. Kenny Schrader won the 1982 Silver Crown Championship, the 83 Sprint Car title, and a total of 33 wins in 4 divisions. Schrader moved on also to a successful career in NASCAR. Doug Coletta won the 1994 Sprint Championship. His USAC career was short and spectacular. His goal was to race top fuel drag cars in NHRA, probably a wise move. Billy Boat was the 1995 USAC Western Midget Champion. He drove for A.J. Foyt in the IRL and sat on the pole at Indy in 1988. Steve Butler captured 3 sprint championships in a row, 1986, 87, and 88. He was smart and aggressive and outbraved his competitors. He also won the 1990 championship. Butler started beside Jimmy Sills in the 1992 Springfield Championship race. It was the 3rd event of the season. Sills led the race. Butler and Jeff Swindell battled for second. Sills led green flag to checkered. The 12th annual 4 Crown Nationals at Eldora was the last Silver Crown race in 1992. With a good finish, Steve Butler could win the championship. Steve swapped the lead with Jeff Swindell and Johnny Parsons. He won the race and the 92 Silver Crown Championship. 24 cars take the green flag for the 1992 Turkey Night Grand Prix at Bakersfield. Jimmy Sills pulls alongside Stan Fox. Sleepy Tripp passes Tony Elliott for 3rd. Sills passes Fox. Tripp makes a bonsai move and passes both of them and is the new leader. Sills chooses the high line in turn 3 and catches a run and flips, ending his chance at winning. Leland McSpadden makes the race interesting by making it a 3-wide battle for the lead. McSpadden and Elliott won't give an inch, but want the same real estate. Leland catches a rut and he's out of the race. Ronnie Schumann wins the Thanksgiving Classic for the 7th time. He won it again in 1993. Robbie Stanley won 2 sprint car races in 1991 and the sprint car title. He was a young hard charger and sprint cars was his passion. He won the sprint title again in 1992 and 93. He was the 2nd driver to win 3 consecutive sprint championships. Robbie poses with sprint car owner Gus Hoffman after the 93 season. Mike Bliss won the first Silver Crown race in 1993 at Phoenix. He won again at Indianapolis Raceway Park and picked up his 3rd win on the Milwaukee Mile. He had 7 top 10 finishes and was crowned the 1993 Silver Crown champion. Bliss also competed in the USAC Midget and Sprint Car Series. He had a terrifying crash at Terre Haute, but survived and moved on to NASCAR. Dan Drinan won 8 national midget races and is a very good race car fabricator. Drinan survived several spectacular crashes, including this spill at Eldora when Andy Mishner collided with him after trying to pass with a slide job. Two-time midget champion Stevie Reeves gets advice from chief mechanic Johnny Caples. Reeves also tried his hand in NASCAR. Dave Darland won the midget title for Steve Lewis in 2001 and 2002. Dave won 23 national midget races, including the Belleville Nationals. He also won the midget portion of the 4 Crown Nationals at Eldora in 1999 and 2004. Darland also participated in the sprint division, a top competitor on dirt and pavement. He fought off a power slide by Kerry Foss and won Terre Haute in 1993. He also was victorious at Kokomo. Winning the Holman Classic was special to Dave. He celebrated with promoter Don Smith and Tony George in Victory Circle. Darland leads the 30-lap feature at Putnamville in 1998. Tony Elliott pulls alongside and they duel for the lead. Elliott takes over first, but Darlin isn't willing to concede and powers back into the front spot. He won the race and the Indiana Sprint Week Championship. Dave won 3 division championships that included Silver Crown in 1997. His sprint car title was in 1999. Plus 2 midget championships in 2001 and 2002. Here's Kenny Irwin at Kokomo. He won the 1996 midget title and also moved over to NASCAR. Jimmy Sills was the Silver Crown champion in 1990 and repeated again in 97. He raced in the Sprint and Midget Series as well. The road to success in winning championships includes detours, speed bumps, and sheet time. Brad Knopfsinger thought he was on the road to fast time while qualifying for a sprint car race at Terre Haute. Instead, he collected a large speed bump and took a detour out of the ballpark. USAC, the leader in driver safety, mandated roll cages, fire restraint driving suits, arm restraints, and many other safety measures to ensure driver safety. Ricky Shelton survived this crash. Sometimes those bucking Broncos have equipment failure, like blown tires, broken suspensions, and blown engines. The driver has to hang on and ride it out like Kevin Thomas at Terre Haute. Driver error plays into crashing. Riding over the cushion usually means danger ahead, as it did here for Al Woodall. Beware of other drivers. Donnie Beechler gets a bump from Andy Michener and rolls down the front stretch. He was shaken but not injured. Sprint cars are like rocket ships and like to lift off. Greg Stevens lifted off and flipped all the way down the backstretch at Kokomo. Stevens was seriously injured in the crash but recovered quickly. Kent Christian and Brad Marble make contact. Marble is launched high into the air. Racing is definitely a contact sport. Jim Keeker makes contact and lifts off at IRP. When you see trouble up ahead, not making contact is important. When making a move to pass, it's important to clear the guy you're passing. Johnny Parsons III experienced the dreaded contact experience at the 16th Street Speedway. Rick Mears won his 4th Indy race in 1991. Rick always had a game plan.
I always went with the same game plan, run the first half to get to the second half. Stay out of trouble, stay in touch, work with the car, work with the team, and adjust on the car to get it the best it'll be for the shootout at the end, if there is one.
Tony Stewart was the 1991 Sprint Series Rookie of the Year. In 1993, he drove a midget for Raleigh Helmling at the Hut 100. Tony qualified for the pole and beat everyone to the first turn at the start. His biggest challenge came from Stan Fox. Tony won the race for happy car owner Helmling.
This is our first USAC win with Raleigh Helmling in the Crystal Pepsi Midget this year, and the second one here at Terre Haute, so we're real happy about this.
Stewart took a wild ride in his Silver Crown car at DuQuoin in 1993. He flipped 5 times, destroying his car. Luckily, he was okay.
Well, cheese weenies run on the bottom. Stewart and I here, we run the top.
Tony took the top at Terre Haute and probably should have run with the cheese weenies on the bottom. Stewart prepares for a sprint race at Winchester in 1995. Tony started last in a qualifying heat race and displays his passing skills on the high banks as he jockeys for the best place to pass. He got by 2 cars on the inside and has Jason McCord and Greg Staub in his sights. Tony dives under Staub and passes for the lead. Tony won 7 sprint races in 1995 and clinched his first sprint championship. His first USAC championship was in 1994. He won the midget title driving for Ralph Potter. He switched cars in '95 and won the championship for Steve Lewis. Stewart's bid to win 3 championships in 1995 was a real challenge in the Silver Crown division. Both races at the Hoosier Fairgrounds were a disaster, crashing in the first one and falling out of the second race. Tony never won a Silver Crown race during the season. His constant top finishes won him the championship by 2 points. Tony signed with Joe Gibbs to drive for his NASCAR team in 1996, but continued to race selected USAC events. The Copper Classic was one of his choices. Steve Lewis brought 3 cars, all number 9 in 1997. Stewart 9X, Kenny Irwin 91, and Tracy Hines number 9. The race winner was 9X, Tony Stewart. Tony loved the dirt and chose to run a sprint car at Eldora in '97. He was moving through the pack on the south side with cars running 3 abreast. The inside car drifted up, causing a crash that sent Stewart into the wall, destroying his race car. He was uninjured. Later, he finished second in Belleville and won at Beaver Dam, Wisconsin in the midgets.
I think he's just an extra special driver with a tremendous amount of talent. I know when I talk to him, the only thing I get out of him is he loves to race.
Tony won the Indy Racing League Championship in 1997.
The dirt track racing, you know, it's a part of my career that's starting to fade in certain ways, but you know, I think that everything that I learned running on the dirt is really what's helped me get to where I am today.
The old baseball stadium on 16th Street in Indianapolis was converted into a racetrack, also in '97.
I'm excited. I think it's going to give a lot of folks a lot of enjoyment, and especially the competitors, because Indianapolis area really lacked an oval track, a dirt track that was nearby for weekly races, and this is going to be a good venue.
The crowd for the inaugural event was impressive. Tony couldn't resist trying out the track that he had helped build. He qualified Ed Carpenter's team car and gave the car a good run. Tony's grandfather owned the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. His father, Elmer George, was a successful driver, and his family continues to own the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's only natural for Tony to want to race. 15,000 fans are ready for some action. George started from the pole in the first qualifying heat. Ron Smoker ran over Tony's right rear tire, causing him to flip, but Smoker was okay. The race is restarted, and Tony has his hands full with a bunch of guys trying to get by. He managed to hold them off and runs on the low portion of the racetrack. Mike Vogler gets a little overanxious to try and pass and slams the wall. Tony finished in 3rd position. The 3 winningest drivers in USAC Silver Crown, sprints, and midgets take time to share their thoughts.
You know, I've raced a lot of different time span there, and there were a lot of tough drivers. Here in the later years, of course, it was like Tony and Tracy Hines and JJ, but at one time I can remember when it was Bigelow and Vogler and Pancho Carter. Sheldon Kinder was probably my all-time best buddy of the whole deal.
You know, USAC's done a lot of things. They were running Indianapolis when we were running. They've really been great to us. Without USAC, we would be nothing.
Indianapolis cars we ran for 10 years, and of course the midgets. I think we run the midgets now for what, 57 years. And the midgets, I think, are the most fun in racing today. And we've been able to run the midgets, of course, New Zealand, Australia, as well as all over this country. 382 wins at the moment. So that's doing pretty good, and I'm just really happy with the fact that the Lord has blessed me with a tremendous opportunity to carry his cross.
When you run good and win with USAC, I think that you definitely have bragging rights on the fact that you have won with the United States Auto Club.
Andy Green broke the sound barrier in 1997. The run was sanctioned by USAC. The car was powered by 2 110,000 horsepower jet engines. Tracy Hines was the Silver Crown champion in 2000 and sprint car titleist in 2002, winning 29 sprint features, 22 midget features, and 3 Silver Crown events. Tracy took a wild ride over the fence at Terre Haute. He before making a move to race in NASCAR. Tony Elliott was the 1998 and 2000 Sprint Car champion with 26 Sprint Car wins. He also won the 1999 Indiana Sprint Week title. Ryan Newman was 17 years of age when he won the Midget Series Rookie of the Year in 1995. He raced midget sprints and Silver Crown. Winning the 1999 Silver Crown title was his biggest accomplishment in USAC before going over to NASCAR. Jason Leffler started driving USAC midgets in 1994. He was on a learning curve and not crashing was part of it. He learned not to jump the cushion at Ventura. Leffler won the midget championship 3 years in a row, 1997, 98, and 99. He also collected the Silver Crown championship in 98.
The Silver Crown series is a great series. You know, it's the heaviest car of this type of race car, and long races, so you have to learn to conserve your tires and run the car straight. The Busch series is really, really competitive. And, you know, I haven't driven too many heavy race cars, so, you know, it's going to be a big step for me.
Casey Kane won the 2000 Midget Championship and moved over to NASCAR. Wally Pankratz won the 2000 Western Midget Championship. He raced with USAC for more than 2 decades. Tony Stewart returned to USAC to race sprint cars at Sun Prairie in 2002. Tony was leading a new kid on the block by the name of J.J. Yaley. He challenged Stewart for the lead up in the high groove. They raced side by side down the backstretch. J.J. got the advantage in turn 3, and he served notice that he was going to be tough to beat. J.J. was the 2001 Silver Crown champion and 2002 Sprint Car champion, climbing to the top of his profession. J.J. won the 2003 Silver Crown and Sprint Championship and topped off the season by winning the Midget Championship as well, equaling Tony Stewart's success in 1995. The last race of the Indiana Sprint Week was at the Action Track in Terre Haute. Yaley started 10th and charged through the field on the first lap. He was up to 3rd on the backstretch and took the lead going into turn number 3. JJ was the Indiana Sprint champion in '97. Yaley won a midget race in Milwaukee earlier in the day, and he went on to win this sprint race with ease. Yaley signed with Joe Gibbs to run in NASCAR and explains what he learned in each USAC series.
It gives you a sense of all the things that you need to know, you know, just not all the same series. With the midgets, you have to learn how to keep momentum in the race car, keep the car straight. You know, with the sprint cars, it's a little bit more of, you know, just controlled chaos. You have so much horsepower to weight ratio. You really have to get the feel for what it takes to keep the tires underneath the race car as far as wheel spin. And with the Silver Crown division, because you're racing on larger racetracks, you get used to the speed, the ability to have to try to save your race car, save the tires because the race is being 100 miles. And, you know, all those little things put into one big thing. If you can master all 3 of those, it's going to make your step a little bit easier to the next level of racing.
Jay Drake started his USAC midget career in 1991, Silver Crown in '94, and Sprints in '98. Drake has won 42 races. Jay has had his share of crashes, including this at Terre Haute when Brian Hayden slammed into him while trying to get a transfer spot in the sprint car main. Drake and Yaley gave the Putnamville crowd their money's worth on the last lap. Jay outpowered Yaley to the checkered flag. Josh Ford jumped into the lead at the start of the Tulsa sprint car race in 2004. Corey Kruisman and Drake battle for the 2nd spot. Josh Ford lost the lead to Kruisman, then Corey was passed by Drake, both driving for Tony Stewart. It's the last lap. Jay takes the checkered flag, then his right rear tire explodes. Drake won the 2004 Sprint Championship and never thought he would experience this kind of success.
Never dreamed that would have as much success as I've had. I mean, it's been
been honored to be with the right people and the right teams and come as far as we have.
Corey Kruseman races in the midget, sprint, and Silver Crown divisions. He won 2 of the Indiana Sprint Week features in 2004. Corey was the 2002 Indiana Sprint Week champion. The 34th annual Hulman Classic gets underway at Terre Haute. Jay Drake pulls ahead in turn number 2. Drake is closely followed by Kruseman. J.J. Yaley passes Levi Jones for 3rd. Kruseman slides under Drake and takes the lead. Yaley is still running 3rd. Corey won the Hulman Classic. He won 5 races in 2004. Drake and Tyler Walker start from the front row of the 100-mile Silver Crown race at Tulsa. Drake gets a little jump at the start. Walker has a full head of steam and passes for the lead. The track is slick and dusty, passing a real challenge. Walker leads by 10 car lengths. Drake, Tobias, and Kading follow. Tyler won the race. It was his 3rd Silver Crown win in a row in 2004. And always the showman, he does a backflip. As an added feature, he gives the crowd his version of breakdancing. Walker also competes in NASCAR. The Hoosier fans cheer the drivers for the start of the 100-mile Silver Crown race at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. It's the 3rd race in the 2004 Silver Crown Series. Dave Steele, winner of the first 2 races, leads Dave Darlin. Darlin takes over the lead after Steele's right rear tire loses its grip. Darlin wins. He's one of only 4 Triple Crown champions. Silver Crown in 1997, Sprint Champ in 99, and Midget Champion in 2001 and 2002. The 51st annual HUD 100 Midget Race gets underway at the Ashen Track in Terre Haute in 2004. Cole Carter leads. Danny Stratton is 2nd. Teddy Beach 3rd, and Bobby East is running in 4th position. Stratton passes Carter. East takes the high line in 3rd. Stratton still leads. East is 2nd and makes a move on the outside and passes Stratton. Bobby East is the new leader. Davey Ray has moved into 2nd. 1 lap to go. Davey makes a bonsai move on East that brings the crowd to their feet. Bobby East wins the 51st HUD 100. Davey Ray finished 2nd. The 59th annual Night Before the 500 followed the HUD 100. Dave Darlin, Cole Carter, and Tracy Hines get the jump on Bobby East. Lots of passing from 4th on back. Doug Cross bounces over a car and slams into the wall. The car disintegrates as it flips along the wall. Luckily, Cross was not seriously injured. Darlin leads East, and Ron Gregory dives under East and moves into 2nd position in turn 1. Gregory slides past Darlin and is on his way to winning the 59th annual Night Before the 500 Classic. It was his first major win in the big time. Levi Jones and Bobby East set the pace for the start of the 30-lap feature at Toledo Raceway in 2004. Jones and East make contact, causing a major pileup involving Jay Drake, Aaron Fike, and Dave Steele. On the restart, Jones and Kading are up front. East was forced to start from the back. This time, everyone makes it through okay. Kading leads. Eric Gordon is 2nd and Jason McCord is 3rd. Gordon is the new leader. Bobby East has moved through the field and is on Kading's tail in 3rd. East ducks under Kading and takes over 2nd place and is hot on Gordon's heels. East caught Gordon a couple of laps later and makes a major charge for the lead. They race side by side, neither willing to give an inch. Finally, East takes the lead. Bobby wins the race, Brian Tyler finished second, and Gordon third. Ron Himmelgarn congratulates East in victory circle. The Old Pueblo Classic at Tucson featured a doubleheader of midgets and sprints. The midget feature was first. East leads Ron Gregory and Tracy Hines. East pulls away from Gregory, Hines, and Dave Steele. The battle rages for second. Steele tries to make a pass on Hines. They touch and Steele spins to a stop. Hines turns up the heat on Gregory and makes a last-ditch effort to pass for second. East wins his 5th midget feature in 2004. Gregory held on to second. East also won the midget championship. Teammates Tony Hunt and Brian McLish start from the front row of the sprint car feature at the Tucson doubleheader. McLish takes the lead. Hunt is second. Like a swarm of angry bumblebees, Aaron Pierce, AJ Fike, and Bobby East attack high and low. Pierce gets by on the inside. East and Fike continue the attack. East slips by for third position. Pierce takes the lead from McLish. East ducks under McLish and goes after Pierce. East pulls alongside Pierce as they race side by side in turn 3. Bobby East is the new leader. Rick Hendricks, Destiny Hayes, and Greg Taylor all want the same real estate. Hendricks gets by, but Taylor and Hayes collect the wall. Bobby East is still the leader. AJ Fike is third and Tony Hunt is fourth. Hunt challenges Fike. Tony moves into third position. Hunt passes Pierce for second. Bobby East heads for the checkered flag. East will join NASCAR in 2006. Josh Wise drove for Tony Stewart in 2005. He was good on the dirt and just as good on the pavement. He won 4 national midget races and a Silver Crown event at Terre Haute. Josh also won the 2005 National Midget Championship. Levi Jones, young and aggressive, won the Mopar Sprint Car Nationals in 2004. And he finished in the top 10 19 times. He won 6 national sprint car races in 2005 and was also the national sprint car champion. Dave Steele won 1 midget race, 3 sprint car events, and 4 Silver Crown races in 2005. Dave runs well on the dirt and really shines on the pavement. His smooth style makes him a fast, tough competitor and a winner in all divisions. Steele won the 2005 Silver Crown title and closes the books on 50 years of speed and glory.
It's been a great heritage with a great future. USAC Racing. It's near and dear to all of us. It's brought us 50 years of great memories, challenges, and thrills. Foyt, Andretti, the Unsers, Rutherford, Gordon, Stewart. We should all take pride in being part of this great sport. And as we approach our second half century, we look forward to new series, new venues, and 50 more years of great USAC racing.